what can parents, not in just in your school district, but in all school districts across this country who are not comfortable with this narrative that's being pushed upon their kids, what can they do to fight back? Because I know that people are scared to speak up. Because you speak up, you're going to get pig's blood and all this other stuff, and people showing up at your house throwing bricks through your windows.
The best advice that I can give these parents and teachers is to band together with this and present this to your school boards with a united front. You're going to find people of all nationalities, of all cultural backgrounds that are going to agree with you.
Yes.
You're going to need to seek out each other because, again, the teachers are not going to put themselves in a position to facilitate stuff like that because it's just not something, again,
not politically
it's just
feasible.
not something we're going to do. It's not
so we're
worth
at
the effort to try.
We're at the point now where we're all having to stay home. We're all having to wear masks. We're all having to stand 6 feet apart from each other. So we all do feel a little bit separated from each other. So it is hard to get the courage to find other people with the same feelings and beliefs that you have, for what's going on in our schools. A question I have is, does this feel like something that the kids have brought to the school from social media, or is this something that's taught to the school teachers?
How is it coming into the school? Is it the kids bringing it in? Is it the teachers? Is it the school boards? The education department?
It is not. The kids are not bringing this in. The counselors are huge in bringing this in, and then you also have some teachers that like to run activism groups within the school as a club, and you're taking kids very young, and again, you're taking kids very young and impressionable and feeding them with things that could, we've got a problem with students not being able to read, write, and do math. I would not have as much problem, I guess, maybe with even doing some social activism on the outside if they were literate and could understand what is being said to them and make rational decisions. But they don't inform the students anymore. We have students that can't pass the basic math and reading tests each year. So until that problem is solved, me as a teacher, I wouldn't be doing anything else. And unfortunately, what has happened is the schools have felt that they are the parents now. And unfortunately, also, a lot of parents have willfully given that to the teachers.
So it sounds to me like they are programming mindless robots. They can't read, do math, but they can point out racism and they can scream racism, and they are kind of like their brains and their minds are being carpet bombed with this propaganda, and they're pushing aside the basics, the basic reason why you go to school in the first place.
Exactly, but I will tell you that there are groups of teachers that resist and just don't do it. I know I'm one of them that just I'm aware of what I need to do, but I'm also aware of what I am not in my classroom. I do not do anything that divides. That's just not what I'm going to do, and some of that stuff divides. So if I've determined myself that it divides, because I know right from wrong, I know those things. I make the judgment myself, where I have freedom to. I have not gotten in deep water for any of this, but again, I am still going to my conscience, and if something happens, something happens. But I know that as a teacher, I'm going to do what's right for my students. And the problem that I've seen through all of this is not one time have they done anything for students. It has all been for teachers and their causes. That's what things have been.
These are teachers with their own personal agendas, it sounds like, and they're propagating this to kids. Now, do you think that it's because some of these teachers just trying to latch on something so they can be part of a group, and now they feel that they're a little bit more important now that they're the leader of this and they're helping kids? Do they have good intentions, or
this goes back to the colleges, and unfortunately, right now, you're getting to the point where most of that stuff all of that stuff that was starting to transition in college, starting going to where we've got to where we are today with all of this racial justice things that have been going on in the colleges, those students are now becoming teachers.
So they come out angry and they
so,
take it to their classes that they're
exactly.
teaching.
And then so they want to come in and teach their critical race theory. They want to teach all of this stuff because that's what they've been trained up in. So it's do I blame them completely? No, they need to be. They're doing what they've been taught. Basically, you're getting what you teach.
Yeah.
They've been taught these things. Now they're bringing it in, and now you've got this construct of older, established teachers that have not been exposed to the college scene for so long, and then you've got these new teachers coming in wanting to change the world and make a revolution. So. Yeah, it's just a conflict that's starting to happen within the schools, because I think you're seeing the repercussions of letting the colleges be as liberal as they were.
Yeah, we're just now starting to see the repercussions. I think in a few more years, when these kids that are getting taught this now, when they start to enter college and their activism begins, it's going to increase tenfold. If you think the protests are bad now, it's going to be horrible down the road.
I'm also going to tell you, and again, I'm going to tell you there's a sign of hope, because I know that most of my students know who put them in this position and are not very happy about it. So
good
things could be backfiring from what I'm seeing on the ground.
So there might be.
And I see signs of hope. I see parents standing up. I see students standing up and saying, you know, enough. I think especially those liberal cities it's the liberal states that lock down the hardest. My feeling is that generation that they locked down is not going to forget that. Right. And I think that is not that it's a hopeful thing that they have to remember that, but it's hopeful that they will realize that they have power to change what is going on.
So how do you feel as a teacher being in the middle of this, being surrounded? Do you ever feel judged by other teachers or staff, or do you get nervous that someone might find out what you're doing?
I have a firm belief in God, and I know that as long as I'm doing what I know God would want to be done, what is right, standing up for all people, standing up for all education, standing up for the students, I don't fear as much. I am more vocal than most in my area. I am not ashamed of it. I had Trump paraphernalia in my room up until he didn't get elected. Well, up until the pandemic was there. I had students that would buy it for me.
Oh wow!
Before they demonized all of this. So again, I have always been very bold, and I am never going to shrink back, because the truth will always set you free. And you're speaking truth.
Yes.
Whether you get fired or not, you are speaking truth, and I can live with myself with truth. I'm a smart individual. I've got a master's degree. I will find something else to do if I need to.
Yeah, I often wonder if a lot of these other people are going to be able to live with themselves later on in life after they find out what they've been doing.
As someone who listens in on other conversations, so I hear people that I would not have thought of being kind of upset about things going on, becoming upset. And so again, you'll have to understand that where I am also is we're on the borderline by Portland, but we are a much more conservative area of Portland. So I know that I personally have a lot of support from my parents, because I pretty much told them how I was going to instruct their students with that type of stuff when I met them at the beginning of the year. And I believe I set a lot of my parents at ease by the way that I approached them at the beginning of this year. So
they are going after the bigger colleges then, because it's same with Eugene. The heart of Eugene is really liberal. The heart of Portland's really liberal. What about Corvallis? I wonder if Corvallis is.
Corvallis. Most places north of Douglas County.
So wherever there's a big college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you're lucky to be just a little ways out of Portland there. And
have the riots affected your school or classroom, or have they affected your area at all?
They have not affected our area. We are right outside, but we used to do field trips to downtown Portland all the time. We would go to Timbers games. We would go to the Children's Theater downtown. I have pretty much told everyone that I work with that I will not be setting foot in downtown Portland on any field trip with my students until there's new leadership down there, because I'm not going to expose my children in my class. They're my kids. When I get students, those are now my students. Those are my kids. Those aren't just any kids. Those are my kids. I'm very possessive of them once I'm their teacher, and there's no reason for them to be exposed to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, have any of this other student or the other teachers and parents that are concerned with this type of stuff, have they started to do anything as far as organizing and presenting a united front? And have any of them started to run for these city councilmen, run the school board positions?
We have actually, the school board members in here have abandoned ship, 3 of them, so half of them, and they were always very teacher union friendly. We've got, in every position, we have got, I've got at least a former student parent that is running for a position this year.
Okay, good.
All of them, if you read the election voters pamphlet, they are all very conservative, and they all want their kids back in school.
Wow,
excellent.
These are parents.
So it sounds like
Parents
there's some
that have no experience. They're coming out.
There sounds like there is some hope, though. That it sounds like that this ship is starting to, at least in some areas, starting to be corrected, because
yes,
over the top. It's just over the top.
It is, and again, I'm more of. We have more. If you were talking to a Portland public school teacher, you would be getting something completely different from. Completely different.
Right.
Well, I can imagine.
Their agendas are a little bit more aggressive.
And they probably weed out their teachers.
Dumb as a bucket of shrimp.